Today we'll be showing you how to update the Grunge paint template from Kreatives Studio. The first thing you always want to do is input our player. Go to the player here, layer, file, place embedded. Navigate to your player file, wherever you have put them on your own computer. Then we see this blue box. Just simply drag, I'm holding down my left mouse, make it the size you would like, hit enter. Delete the player here placeholder. Next, we'll update the logo. So again, go to your logo layer, hit File, Place Embedded, navigate to your logos, and then drag it up. Hopefully this won't be too pixelated. Let's see. Enter. There he is. We don't want him to look like that, so what we need to do is go down to this logo. There's some settings in here we want to copy. Click in this gray area with your right mouse, and then go to Copy Layer Style. Now click back in your logo, click in the gray area, and hit Paste Layer Style. And go back into this logo placeholder and hit Delete. There we have our little bear. I'm going to move him a little bit. If I hit V on my keyboard, that brings up the move tool, and then I use arrow keys. Now we're going to go into this swoosh color. Double click, click somewhere, purple, it's a little bit light, and click on his glove. It's kind of dark, so just dragging there, like a little darker. Hit OK. Now we're going to adjust this outside color. This is a gradient map, this one here. Double click, click into the gradient map, click on the color to change, click, and we want it purple. Sometimes this happens. I'm clicking on the purple, but it's turning it white. It's not picking up the color. So in that case, I just manually eyeball it. That's a little bit too much. There we go. That's looking good. Okay, okay, and then I close this. You can also turn off this look altogether, which with the purple that might be better. We'll leave it on for now. Let's go into this last piece of yellow, which is the position here. First I'm going to turn off the player so we can see how this position works. Double click. We're going to type the new position all in caps, midfield, and then I do a space and then a bar, which is the key under the delete, and then a space, and then the bar. Do it one more time, space. Now what you can do instead of, you can keep typing, but you can also highlight, edit, copy, and click there, and edit, paste. And then you can highlight the whole thing again, edit, copy, edit, paste. And one more time, highlight. You can also, the shortcut on the keyboard for copy is Command C on a Mac and Control C on a PC. And then Command V, paste. So we have that. And then I hit the checkbox to commit, and then I go and change my color. The one thing here is it looks very symmetrical. So if you don't like it looking symmetrical, you can double click and then kind of go into one of where a space is and hit space, and then maybe another space down here. Just kind of randomly add in some spaces. There we go. Now it's kind of, oops, undo. If you don't like what you just did, Command Z is your friend there. I kind of like it a little bit more not symmetrical. Commit. Now let's go in and change the color. Double click. Up here is your color. See if the color's working again. That's working. That's a very subtle look. I might go more white here so it pops out a little bit. Let's turn our player back on and see what we have. Oh, hit the checkbox to commit your change. That's looking good. We're almost done. Just change the rest of the text. Hit the checkbox to commit your change. That's a little small because it's a shorter name. I hit Command T, drag it out. Whatever you want to do. So one little thing here, you can see that the cross is getting washed out here because of the white of the stick. You can just go click on the player, and then you're going to go down and make a new layer, this little plus. And you have your layer selected, and you're going to go to your brush tool. I'm going to go up here, here's the settings. I'm going to make sure its hardness is 0, down to 0. Opacity 100%. You want to make sure black is your color. If you don't see black up here as the foreground, hit D. That'll bring up the default colors of black and white. If you still don't see black as your foreground, hit X and it will switch the two colors, so then you'll have black. One other thing with this brush tool is right now I can't tell how big my brush is. I just see this little crossbar. That's because my caps lock is on. So if I turn my caps lock off, I can see how big my brush is. What I do is I make my brush a little bit bigger than the size of the text. If you need to change the size, there's the bracket keys on your keyboard. Right bracket, bigger, left bracket, smaller. Also, you can go here and change the size. So I'm going to go back to left bracket. What we just want to do is we want to paint right here while we can see. There we go. Then if you don't want your player's head in the text, you can just Command T, drag him down. So, where are we? First name. These are just type in all caps. Last name. Double click. You can change the color of these if you want. Double click, go up here. Black might be a look. It's all subjective. And then number, double click, type the number. When you're doing the text, you can either hit this checkbox to commit your change when you're done, or just click on a different layer and that will also commit your change. So, there we have the basic poster, and it's good enough as it is. One thing I like to do for a little bit extra with this one, because it's a grungy looking poster and the photograph is not grungy looking, is we can adjust that. To do that, you go into your player layer, and mine is already a smart object. If you see this little gray stuff down there, that means it's a smart object, which is what we want it to be. If yours does not look like this, I'm going to turn it off. If yours looks like this, in order to make it a smart object, right click and convert to smart object. Now go to filter, camera raw filter, and we're going to go to effects. Click on the little triangle. And we're going to bring up the clarity, and then we're going to bring up the texture, and we might bring up the dehaze a bit. It's going to darken it, and we're going to go into the light one, and decrease, increase, If we decrease the shadows and increase the highlights, maybe do the opposite. Color, sometimes to turn the saturation down a little bit and hit OK. The good thing about it being a smart object now is we can go back and change that. So see how that, if we turn the camera off, really makes a difference in how it blends into the background. And in this case, since it's a grungy poster, I think the grungy player look is good. If you didn't want to use the logo, you could just turn that off, and there's one other layer here called background text. Check that on, and you can type down the name of the school, whatever you want. Could be Grizzlies, there, checkbox. You could make that different color. Just a little bit like that. Checkbox. I think in this case, I like the logo better. The logo's a little bit too much right now, so we're gonna drop down the opacity here. So that he's just kind of blended into that background instead of taking over the whole poster. So in looking at this image now, this up here is a little bit too high, so I'd move that a little bit. This move tool is selected, and I would just hit the down arrows. What else? The bear might be a little bit too much still. Decrease him a little. I like that. You could even, if you want to try and resize the player, I just hit Command T there. Let's see how big. I mean, you want your player to be the, emphasis of the poster, obviously. Let's try that. So that's the final edit. Hope you found this tutorial informative, and happy creating!